As of now, Jeffrey Dahmer and his grisly murders have been the subject of 6 major motion pictures. He is also referenced in many television shows such as American Horror Story. Doctors and other medical professionals have theorized that Jeffrey Dahmer may have had Aspergers Syndrome. They argue that if he had visited a psychiatrist in his teens, he would undoubtedly have been diagnosed with the syndrome. They claim that because he was socially awkward, appeared stiff and mechanical, and had a limited set of facial expressions, this showed the characteristics of an autistic disorder. His classmates remember him pulling pranks like pretending to have seizures in the middle of shopping malls, or running through the school halls screaming, "Hurricane drill!" These antics become forever known as pulling a Dahmer. He was also known to have drawn chalk outlines of bodies throughout the school. During Jeffrey's trial, the judge allowed the family members of his victims to give impact statements and to address the killer directly. Most were as raw and heartbreaking as you would expect, but one in particular stood out. Rita Isabel, the older sister of victim Errol Lindsay, stood up and said, Jeffrey shared a trait that many serial killers have in common, that of a very high IQ. Although reports differ on his exact IQ, psychiatrists and legal experts estimate his IQ was around 145 to 155, which is significantly higher than that of the average IQ of around 100. His intelligence enabled him to fool police and stay undetected for decades. Throughout his life, Jeffrey suffered with alcoholism. He was pretty much an alcoholic from the age of 14. Fellow classmates at Riviera High School would later tell stories of how Jeffrey would smuggle cups of hard liquor into school, drinking it throughout the day. When they asked him about it, he would laugh and say, "It's just my medicine." Many professionals speculate that Jeffrey's deviancy began after an operation to correct a double hernia on his groin as a child. Dahmer's family claim he was a happy and energetic child before the procedure, and that he changed dramatically after it, becoming sullen and withdrawn. Dahmer would express later how he felt ashamed and embarrassed that so many people had to touch and look at his genitals. Jeffrey once stole a full-sized male mannequin from a clothing store and kept it in his closet. He would take it out at night, lay next to it and caress its body. However, he was forced to throw it out when his grandmother found it and demanded he get rid of it. From 1979 to 1981, Jeffrey served as a medic in the US Army. While stationed in West Germany, Jeffrey had to study the human body, which included viewing many photographs of corpses and severely injured soldiers. It is believed that his lust for the dead was heightened significantly after his tour of duty. He was eventually discharged, albeit honorably, due to alcoholism. After his arrest, Jeffrey told investigators about a male jogger that he had become obsessed with. So infatuated was he that he made plans to kill him. He hid himself behind some trees that he knew the jogger would pass, baseball bat in hand. Fortunately, for whatever reason, the jogger did not follow his usual route, and Jeffrey never attempted the plan again. The man never knew how close he was to becoming another victim. Like most children, young Jeffrey was inquisitive and would ask his father many questions. One day, over a turkey dinner, Jeffrey asked his father, who worked as a chemist, what would happen if he put the turkey bones in bleach. Thinking his son was showing an interest in science, he didn't just tell him, his father showed him. This interest led Jeffrey to kill and preserve many animals to keep their bones. He would even use the same practice of preservation with human bones. Jeffrey's first murder occurred just weeks after he graduated high school. On June 18, 1978, Dahmer, then 18, picked up a hitchhiker, Stephen Hicks, and took him home for a few beers. When Hicks thanked Jeffrey for the drink and went to leave, Jeffrey, not wanting to be alone, struck Hicks in the head with a nearby dumbbell. When Hicks lay unconscious, Jeffrey used the same barbell to strangle him to death. Hicks was then dismembered and discarded. On November 28, 1994, whilst on cleaning detail in jail, Jeffrey was murdered by another inmate, schizophrenic and convicted killer Christopher Scarver. After the attack, that also left another prisoner dead, Scarver said he murdered Jeffrey because he would flaunt and boast about his crimes. He said Jeffrey would taunt other prisoners by moulding his food to look like human limbs and cover them with ketchup to get reaction from the other inmates. Some of Jeffrey's early murders were committed in his grandmother's home. It is believed that 4 men were killed and dismembered there, right under his grandma's nose. His grandmother complained several times about the smell in the basement and in her grandson's bedroom, which Jeffrey said was a sewage pipe leak. In fact, the smell was due to the multiple severed heads he had hidden in his room. Jeffrey planned to make a disturbing altar in his home, which would be made from the skulls, pelvis, and other bones from his victims. He stated that it would be a place where he could just feel at home. After his arrest, Jeffrey told police that if he was apprehended just 6 months later than he was, they would have found the altar fully constructed. Neighbours of Jeffrey have claimed that on many occasions Dahmer would give out sandwiches to many of the fellow residents in the apartment block. They said that all the sandwiches had contained meat, and many now believe that the meat inside was human flesh. When police searched Jeffrey's apartment after the arrest, they recovered body parts of many different people. They were scattered throughout the apartment, with some being found in his refrigerator and freezer. In all, they found body parts belonging to 11 different people. The act of killing was not the primary reason Jeffrey murdered so many. He wanted someone to be absolutely at his beck and call, and who would never leave him. When he found that most people were not fully submissive, he settled for keeping just parts of them. However, not wanting to kill more people than necessary, he tried to turn some victims into real-life zombies. He drilled through the skulls of several victims, injecting acid into their brains through the hole in the skull, with the hope that they would become brain dead and fully submissive. Of course, the procedure never worked, it only led to their deaths. In her book, The Man Who Could Not Kill Enough, Anne E. Schwartz claims that after Jeffrey had read an obituary in the newspaper, he saw that an 18-year-old had recently died and been buried in a nearby cemetery. He knew the man was buried nearby, so made plans to dig up the corpse. However, he found the earth far too hard and quickly gave up. Jeffrey's reign of terror was close to being stopped much earlier than it was, when his father discovered a locked box in his mother's home. He knew it belonged to his son and demanded Jeffrey open it, believing it to contain pornography. The pair argued for some time, but Jeffrey managed to get his father to calm down and relent. Jeffrey promised to get rid